Good afternoon, everybody. Certainly glad that you're here. My name's Ed Hartman. I'm DAV's Inspector General, and joining me today is DAV Deputy Inspector General Ryan Burgos. Today we're going to talk about some of those things that are going to keep us out of trouble as a chapter and as a department, and things that we should be doing with our funding, and talk about some new NEC regulations that came out as well. We're going to we've got an hour for this presentation. We're going to try to limit our remarks to about 30 minutes or so. I think we timed it at like 33 minutes, but we're going to try to allow enough time at the end so that we can answer any questions that each and every one of you might have. Keep in mind, though, that there is another seminar that is taking place after this one. So if we don't get to all of your questions, our contact information will be on the last slide. Do not hesitate to send us an email, give us a call. We'll certainly do our best to get back with you right away. Like I always do at every seminar opportunity that I have to talk to a large group of DAV members, is talk about our mission statement and why it's important to us as leaders within our chapters and departments. The reason for that is because when we open up our meetings, whether it be a department convention, a chapter meeting, we as leaders need to set the tone of our members in terms of why we are gathered here at a meeting, what our role is, what our scope is, what can be discussed and what cannot be discussed. So bear with me here just while I read through the mission statement, because again, it sets a tone on what we're here to address and what we're not here to address. And so anything that's not covered in our mission statement obviously has no room to be discussed in DAV. So we're dedicated to a single purpose of empowering veterans to lead high quality lives with respect and dignity. We accomplish this by making sure veterans and their families can access the full range of benefits available to them, fighting for the interests of America's injured heroes on Capitol Hill, and educating the public about the great sacrifices and needs of veterans transitioning back to civilian life. We do this by providing free professional assistance to veterans and their families in obtaining benefits and services earned through their military service and provided by the Department of Veterans Affairs and other government agencies, to include the Department of Defense. Providing outreach concerning its program services to the American people generally and to disabled veterans and their families specifically, representing the interests of disabled veterans, their families, their widowed spouses, and their orphans before Congress, the White House, and the judicial branch, as well as state and local governments. Extending DAV's mission of hope into the communities where these veterans and their families live, through a network of state-level departments and local chapters, and finally providing a structure through which disabled veterans can express their compassion for fellow veterans through a variety of volunteer programs. This is important to be read at each of our DAV meetings, again, as whether it's a chapter meeting, a department convention, because it sets the tone. It sets the expectation of what delegates, chapter members are going to be engaged in talking about. And it also helps the chair, whether it be the commander or if it's a committee, to guide conversation, right? So if somebody gets, off base and starts talking about other things that are not mentioned in our mission statement, it gives the commander or whoever the chair is the opportunity to stop that member and say, listen, it's out of order. That's not what we're supposed to be here talking about as an organization and making decisions as an organization. So at this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Deputy Inspector General Ryan Burgos. And then at the end, I'll be back up here to facilitate the Q&A for everybody. So Ryan?
Thanks. Yep. All right, good afternoon, everyone. So I know I'm a new face for a lot of individuals here, but been with DAV for quite a few years. I'm definitely excited to be here and to hopefully make an impact to help everybody in this room. But we're going to get started with the different leaders that are located within each chapter or department. There's 6 key leaders that are always present. You've got your commander, your senior vice, your junior vice or junior vice commanders, the adjutant, treasurer, and judge advocate. I'm going to go ahead and begin, though, and start with the commander. This individual is elected by the body to act upon the wishes determined by the majority vote of members. This individual is not coming in to be a dictator or a ruler by any means. This individual should be an awesome mentor, great public speaker, and someone that you can go to for good guidance to help you move forward. They should be, they chair all the committees, and the biggest thing is they're a negotiator or a voice of reason. They're the calm person coming into the conversation to be able to facilitate any kind of feuds or anything like that that is going on. The next person is the junior vice commander. Usually the chair of the membership committee. They fill in the role for the commander in their absence. They can serve on other committees or they can chair or serve on other committees as well, though. They stay engaged and learn for their future opportunities because normally, they're more than likely going to be a possible commander in the near future. Next, you've got your junior vice commander. This individual will serve as the senior vice commander in their absence. They do chair various committees from VAVS and fundraising. And the same thing goes. They stay engaged and learn for future opportunities. And again, mentoring the young members as they're coming into the chapter. We can't express that enough because every chapter there's many chapters out there suffering for membership. So you need that one person that can go and talk to the new members as they're coming in the door to educate them on what you're doing within the community, try to get them involved a little bit more. Then you have your adjutant. The adjutant is the CEO of the body. They're there to provide stability to the chapter or the department. This is not something, we don't recommend that person coming in and out every single year and changing out, because again, they're there to provide the stability. They know all the ins and outs that's going on with that chapter or department. So to pull them out every single year and have to retrain somebody else, it's not a good environment conducive for growth. Okay, this person should be well organized and able to communicate effectively on behalf of the body. Next person, you have your the treasurer or the chief financial officer of the body. They're able to provide timely and accurate financial reports at every single meeting. They are running the books, making sure all bills are being paid. They're reconciling the credit card, the debit cards every single month. And you want to make sure that this person is trustworthy and organized as well. And finally, they're responsible for filing a timely IRS Form 990. Next is your judge advocate. They're the parliamentarian of the body. They chair the Constitution and Bylaws Committee. And not only are they familiar with their particular chapter or department bylaws, you want them to also have a lot of knowledge about the national Constitution and bylaws as well, because at any point in time, if somebody has a question about the Constitution and bylaws, they should be going to the judge advocates with those questions. So, a lot of individuals might be asking, how do we elect these leaders? How do we go out and find them? How do we determine who that right individual is? Obviously, elections are happening on an annual basis. You want to make sure you're electing trustworthy leaders. For example, if you're looking for a treasurer and you're not doing due diligence and looking into that person, you could be electing someone who has prior convictions for fraud or something like that. I'm not saying you need to go out and pay somebody to do a background check or anything like that at all. It could be as simple as conducting a quick Google search to figure out, okay, well, who is this person that we're getting ready to elect? They're going to be managing our finances. That's a huge, huge deal. And if they're not managing it properly, paying the bills on time, you're going to get red flags. So we want to make sure that this individual is trustworthy. But that goes across the board, whether it's the treasurer, the adjutant, any of the senior vices. You want to make sure that you're electing quality leaders to your organizations. So we're going to get into a little bit about fundraising. As always, if the fundraiser is going to be conducted by a chapter, it does require the approval of the DEC. Now, some fundraisers, such as contracts and with other outside entities, it does require the approval of the NEC. If it's a department fundraiser, then approval must be obtained by the National Executive Committee or the NEC. All fundraising requests must specify the particular service program that will benefit from the proceeds. For example, let's say someone is going to be doing a 50-50 raffle in your state, and when that fundraiser request came in, it said, okay, well, this raffle, any proceeds we receive is going to be used for, say, the transportation network. We want to make sure that once that raffle is completed and those funds get taken in and you're deciding, okay, well, how are we going to use these funds, that they actually go towards the transportation network. You're not using it for any other means. It's got to be used for that specified purpose. So, forget-me-nots. Chapters may conduct forget-me-nots annually, not to exceed 7 days. It doesn't have to be 7 consecutive days. It just has to be 7 calendar days. So if you wanted to select 2 days near Veterans Day, 2 days near Labor Day, or whatever it might be, you just want to make sure that it's 7 days annually, no more. Now, you don't need prior approval for the chapter. Does not require, you're not required to get prior approval from the department. However, you do want to make sure you inform them and let them know, hey, you know, this is when we're planning on doing our Forget-Me-Not drive. Departments may conduct Forget-Me-Not drives as well in areas where there is no local chapters, and they don't need to have prior approval from the National Executive Committee either. But it's imperative. Anytime it's capitalized and underlined, it's really important. So all funds generated from Forget-Me-Not drives must be utilized solely for the purpose of providing service to disabled veterans, their dependents, and survivors, and no other purpose. So Golden Corral Military Appreciation. Just by a show of hands, who's participated in these before? Okay, so a few. That's good. So Golden Corral Military Appreciation Monday events are intended to be a department fundraiser. And I know a lot of times the chapters will go and man the tables and things that's there, which is great. One thing to point out, no other fundraisers are going to be happening at the exact same time. You are there to conduct that specific fundraiser, so you're not going and requesting donations for anything else, okay? So the department is also going to be responsible for selecting which chapter is going to be attending that Golden Corral Military Appreciation Night. So if there's 3 Golden Corrals within that same city, then you're selecting 3 different chapters to attend the fundraiser on the department's behalf. And one thing just to point out, because I mean it's happened in the past before, we're not the bouncers at the door when it comes to these events. The veteran walks in, if he or she says he's a veteran, then he's a veteran. We're not saying, oh, well, let me see your military ID, or let me see your DD-214 as proof. You know, these individuals have come in, I'm a veteran. We leave it at that and let them in the door. There's no need to be the bouncer at the door and say, no, you get out of here, you're not allowed to be here. And not only are DAV members not doing that, but there should be no Golden Corral staff doing that either. So, bar, lounge, bingo, and thrift stores. They may be allowed for the purpose of raising money in order to support service programs within the community. So the revised NEC Regulation 4 requires any bar, lounge, or bingo operation, thrift store, or similar fundraiser provide at least 10% of its gross annual proceeds to DAV service programs. These are a fundraiser. It's a privilege. It is not a right. We want to make sure our sole purpose in conducting these fundraisers so our impact in the community is that much greater. If we're not able to raise enough funds to have a good impact within the community, then there's no point in having it. So we want to make sure that we're being good stewards, that we're having these operations in good locations where we're able to raise a good amount of funds. And I know that we have mentioned it in the past, but when annual financial reports do come due, so September 30th, if there's any existing bar, lounge, bingo, or thrift store operation that's out there that is not contributing 10% of its gross for DAV programs, then that operation is going to be no longer in existence. Okay, so it's very, very important that we're out there, we're actually raising monies to in fact impact the community. So donations, that's been a big topic since I've come on board, only because a lot of individuals, in this day and age, not everybody carries cash, unfortunately. So a lot of people want to say, okay, well, can I raise funds electronically via mail, or can I do it on email and request donations? I mean, the simple answer is no. Unfortunately, all transactions must be conducted face to face. All these applications that are out there give the donor the ability to live in one state and donate to a completely other state. Remember, we have to stay within our chartered territory. We can't raise funds for out of another chartered territory. So all transactions must be done face to face. So we talked about how we're going to make money. Let's talk about a little bit about expending the money that we've made now. We need to ensure that donations support veterans, programs, and services. So if the donor is giving, let's say they gave you $50,000, if there's multiple people that are part of multiple organizations, so even if you're part of like VFW or AMVETS or any of these other organizations that's out there, we think it's great, you're involved within your community. However, you can't take DAV funds and help another organization put a roof on their building or help them put on this other event by providing a monetary donation. It's fine to work with these other organizations. However, if they're asking for your assistance for, let's say, a homeless stand down, instead of providing a monetary donation, say, okay, well, how about we help provide food for that? And then you can provide maybe a banner or something, say meals provided by, DAV Chapter 1, whatever it might be. But it's never good practice to give money, cash money, to another organization. If the donor wanted their money to go to that other organization, then they would have given it to them. But instead, they entrusted DAV with that money. So we need to make sure we're good stewards of that money, so that way the public sees that and wants to continue to support DAV. So the NEC Regulation 3 revision, I know we had somebody that was talking about it here a little bit ago, but any DAV subordinate entity must receive prior written approval from the National Executive Committee before entering into a business relationship with a government entity. So recently we found a DAV entity that did have a contract out there that was like that, or was receiving funding that they weren't supposed to be receiving. I do know that multiple chapters and departments that are out there, they do receive state funding to help run maybe their transportation network or maybe help run their DSO program. You guys are fine. You're perfectly fine to do that. We're trying to make sure and ensure that we remain compliant and we don't receive any federal funding. So all that's going to be happening is we're going to be reviewing that to make sure that everybody is in compliance. Okay. Other than that, if we have questions after that, we can handle that one. But we're going to move on to NEC Regulation 13. So general rule, any bequests and or other testamentary gifts like IRAs, bank accounts, and life insurance policies, regardless of their size, so if it's $1 to $1 million, must be submitted through the Bequest Reporting Program, or BRP. And so DAV, anytime DAV National receives any kind of letters or notifications from attorneys or whoever it might be to say, hey, this individual had passed, they left you this amount of money, we always look at it and make sure that it's actually intended for DAV National. Because many times somebody living in a completely another state has passed away, the attorney will go and type into Google DAV, the first one to pop up is DAV National. So they reach out to us and they mail us communication. Well, once we receive that communication, we say, hey, well, yes, it says DAV, but this says DAV Department of, say, Hawaii or something, Chapter 1. So DAV being trying to be good stewards to the decedent's wishes, we forward all the money to that particular department. But we want to make sure that that's reciprocated as well. So anytime the department or chapter receives these type of communications, we want to see that paperwork as well, because sometimes when we get to the end of the year and we're reviewing financial reports and we say, hey, you guys received this bequest, but last will and testament says disabled American veterans, not disabled American veterans X department. So in order to make sure that we are being good stewards of the money and making sure that we're following the decedent's wishes, we're just going to review everything. If the money stays in your particular state, great, it stays there. And it's received on our end as well. If we receive money and it doesn't belong to DAV National, we're going to turn it directly back over to you all as well. I think other than that, Q&A.
Thanks, Ryan. That was a little bit quicker than 33 minutes, but we will take it. So we will have plenty of room for Q&A. Just to expand on a couple of things that Ryan mentioned as it relates to NEC Regulation 3 and the reason that it was created. and again, just to reassure most everybody in this room, we're very aware that a lot of departments receive funding from their state, right, to support their DSO program, their transportation network, outreach activities. That is all well and good, and that's certainly fine. We really just need to make sure, though, that there's no federal funding that is a part of that, because, of course, in accordance with our federal charter issued to us by Congress, it very specifically states that we as an organization will receive no federal funding. And the example that Ryan mentioned earlier, there was one department that had an agreement with an entity, and come to find out that entity was receiving all of its proceeds and funds to support that program operated by that department from federal funds. So we found ourselves answering to both the House and Senate Veterans Affairs Committee recently, and it's not something that we want to do. We want to be able to maintain our federal charter with the United States Congress so that we can continue as an organization and do all that we do. So that was the whole purpose behind the creation of NEC Regulation 3A. And again, it's not going to impact any of you. The only time it would impact any of you is if in the review process we see or we find that funds are coming from the federal government. A majority of these, if not all of these agreements and contracts that you're getting from counties or states are coming by way of taxes provided by the state or the county. So you're going to be good. Don't let that worry you. But it is important, though, that we review those and approve those by the NEC prior to the finalization of those. Hold on a second, I'm sorry, real quick. NEC Regulation 13, as we just talked about, the bequest reporting program, just to expand on that a little bit. Not only is it our responsibility to be good stewards of funds that come into DAV and ensuring that funds wind up with the appropriate entity as per the decedent's wishes, it's our legal responsibility to do. We have an obligation to a decedent who leaves a gift to a DAV entity, whether that's DAV National, a DAV department, or a DAV chapter somewhere. Legally, as per the decedent's wishes in their last will and testament or other document, we have to ensure that it winds up with the appropriate entity. The bequest reporting program has been in existence now for about 8 or 9 years. Some chapters, some departments have been forwarding that information. All we do when we get that is we look at the document and say, okay, yes, this is truly intended for the chapter, or this is truly intended for the department. We send it back. If it's truly intended for the national organization, then obviously we keep it. So when, as Ryan uses an example, anytime that an executor or anybody else responsible for the distribution of a will or bequest or other testamentary gift sees DAV's name on a document, the first thing that they do is Google DAV, and they see that DAV headquarters is in Erlanger, Kentucky, so they just send it to us. And then, of course, our legal department looks at that, and then we further define either by way of an employer identification number or further language that says DAV Chapter 1 in Hawaii or DAV Department of Hawaii. We forward that along. So over the years, we noticed that, we're not getting any bequests, testamentary gifts, or anything that's coming from chapters or departments. And that's simply because when a chapter or a department gets a gift and it just says, hey, here's a check for $50,000, and it goes in the bank right away. Well, come to find out, over time in reviewing annual financial reports, it was determined, boy, this chapter, this department, the national organization can get in trouble legally because this gift was intended to go to the national organization. So that was the whole reason for the creation of the bequest reporting program. It's very important that it be followed, and I'll tell you what, there's nothing worse than having a chapter that gets a bequest, they put it in their bank, and they feel great because they've got a large chunk of change in the bank that they can operate out of. And then at the end of the year, when we're reviewing their annual financial report, and we see from that bequest that, hey, this should have come to DAV National, believe me, because I have to make those calls. It's a tough call to make, to call Chapter 1 in whatever department and say, hey, you owe us $50,000 because this money was supposed to come to DAV. So it's best to do the right thing first than to sit on it for a year. Now everybody has the expectation and belief that, hey, we've got all this money, we can do A, B, and C, to turn around and have to send it to either the State Department or the national organization. So I just wanted to expand on those two examples a little bit. So hope that helps